Hello darlings, Dr. Lucy here, 5:30. I've just had to have a little check with my microphone spoon. Tonight, cooking for you. I'm on the stuffed version. So today I'm actually going to cook some stuffed capsicums. I'll just wait till all of you get on so we can have a little chat. Hey Winnie, hello Sandra, how are you darling? Hey Gail, how are you? I know, it's amazing, I'm on time, who knew? And I think I've even got my setup. Have I got my setup right? Actually, just having a look over here. You're not going to be able to see this thing. I'm just going to move this one down a little bit. Hello Kim, how are you? Millie Molly, how are you? Oh, great. This is the thing, right? You move it. Now my head's chopped off. But anyway, is what it is. As we say, is what it is. My daughter Maya may arrive home at any time during the middle of this. She was off running. She's become a runner. Alani, hello lovely. So, but, do you know I was telling you guys the other day about too much of a good thing? And I can't remember what I'd done, but it was something and it was too much and I basically couldn't walk. So that for me is probably like getting out of a chair or something. But I have this, my oldest daughter is just an overachiever and, she started running. So, my idea of a run, even when I was a runner back in her day, was like 5Ks. Her idea of a run, she just trots off and does 22Ks. So yes. Anyway, she rang about 10 minutes beforehand, before this came on, saying, Mom, can you pick me up? I've strained something, I can't walk. So I don't know if I'm about to set forth World War III because I have sent the youngest daughter to go and get it. That could be all bad. So anyway, who knows? Yes, Pilates, Anna, that's right. I did way too much Pilates. Now what about tonight, right? Don't I look like Sporty Spice? Like I've got a ponytail, I've got the sports bra, I've got some sort of sporty looking top. Have not done a single sporty thing, so there you go. So let's get crack-a-lacking. So today what I've got over here, I've actually got, I'm just going to move this over. I didn't realise last time that I had some giant bag of grated cheese in front of the camera for most of the time. But anyway, so tonight over here I have got this pot of mince. Now, you guys know I love mince. Mince, it's like the universal dish. So on Sunday, I cooked up a big pot and I do 1/4 pork mince, 3/4 beef mince. I think that's a good flavour. It gives you a little bit more sort of fat for flavour and just balances it really nicely. I happen to fling in a bit of mingle spag bowl because I seem to have lots of that. And seriously, poor husband, we're having it again tonight. Just giving it a bit of a stir. I've added in some mushrooms for this one. So I thought rather than you've seen me throw mince in a pot 100 times. So what I've done with this one, I'm just putting in some extra mushrooms. It already had some, so Sunday night we had zoodles, so it was zucchini. Last night was Monday night, I got home from work late, so we just had a bowl of mince with cheese. And then tonight, I've actually flung in some mushrooms and some frozen peas. Now people go, oh, peas aren't on the list. Green peas are about 6 grams of carbs per 100 grams. They're not that high in carbs. I'm really happy with a green pea. I really like them. Again, I'm not eating 100 grams of green peas here in my mix. So I think sometimes we can get a little pedantic over what is on the list and what isn't. They are at the slightly higher end per 100 grams compared to, say, spinach, but they're much lower than potato and sweet potato, which are right up at about the 17 or 18 grams. So I'm just going to let that go for a bit. And then, look at these for magnificent beasts, too. Capsicums. So I'm just going to chop them. I've got a range of knives because, as you know, my knives are never sharp because I'm a human and not an actual professional chefy person. So, that one went quite well. So basically, I'm just going to scoop out that inside bit and that's going to be my stuffing. Like, how simple is that? I don't even have to sort of chop anything like the eggplant last week where I had to sort of do a bit of fancy scoring. I'm trying to leave that little green bit in just so it doesn't create like a bit of a hole for everything to fall out when you're not looking. So as I said, this dish is going to be super simple tonight and it's just a variation. I think we're always looking for variations on mince. So as you know, mince, the great universal food, you can use it in a spaghetti bowl, you can turn it into, you can put some curry powder in it and turn it into like a chow mein. You can turn it into a shepherd's pie with some cauliflower mash. You can turn it, you can actually use it, if it's quite a dry mince, you can turn it into the base of a pizza. You can turn it into the base of a muffin and put an egg in the middle if you wanted to, or apparently you can also use it to stuff capsicums. So yeah, I thought, well, that's pretty easy, because what I want to talk to you tonight about, all you lovely darlings, is today is World Alzheimer's Day. So I know that everyone knows about Alzheimer's disease. So Alzheimer's, sometimes called AD, not very often, but Alzheimer's, it's a type of dementia. So dementia, just so that we're all clear, is a disorder of the brain, and it leads to memory loss and what we call cognitive impairment. So the ability, you lose the ability to do things and to think the way you used to think. So there's actually a few different types. Most people think they're all the same thing. So Alzheimer's is one particular type caused by the deposition or deposit of these proteinaceous plaques in the brain. And, you know, there's lots of theories on who gets it and why we get it and all those sorts of things. But there's also dementia that comes from other sources. So probably the other most common cause of dementia is something we call vascular dementia or multi-infarct dementia, it used to be called. And basically that's like lots of mini strokes in your brain. It comes from all the same things that cause cardiac disease. So, and in fact it's often called cardiovascular, so affecting, or cerebro, that's hard to say, vascular disease, which is a brain disease. And basically it's little tiny strokes, sometimes called lacuna infarcts. A couple of those is probably doesn't cause too many troubles, but when you have lots of them, then basically you've got like little deficits all through your brain. So that's called multi-infarct or vascular dementia. The other causes of dementia are alcohol related. Certainly alcoholic dementia is well known, probably under discussed. I think probably most people don't want to talk about alcohol related dementia, and that's really just chronic injury to the brain from excessive use over many years. And then there's another one called Lewy body, which is a completely different disease, completely different kettle of fish, and actually has quite different presentation and quite different management. So the thing about dementia is obviously it is a little bit on the up, slightly because we're living longer, and it is a disease largely of older people. So we've got to be mindful of that. But there's lots of discussion about the causes of it. And if we're talking Alzheimer's, then I'm talking about this amyloid deposition of plaque that occurs and what might be causing that. And again, we don't have a huge handle on it, but there is some discussion about excessive insulin being a driver. And as we know, I've talked a lot about insulin being a growth hormone, so it grows things, so maybe it grows this amyloid. But then there's also discussion on the treatment. So I'm sort of lying like this over here because I'm half in, half out. So I think this is something that's really important, that the treatment and prevention of conditions are often different. Okay, so this is one of our big things. Just giving that a bit of a stir. So one of the big messages at Real Life Medicine is we are always talking about the treatment of obesity is different to the prevention of obesity, because once obesity sets in with that high insulin and causes all the other hormones to sort of be out of balance or causes a metabolic derangement, then you can't treat that just by, running, like we talk about, diet and exercise. Whereas if you're a younger person and you're metabolically flexible, so you can still use both your fuels, you can certainly manage your glucose load or your carbohydrate intake with exercise. It's a lot harder to do that purely from a weight loss point of view. We talk a lot about exercise for lots of other things, and in particular blood glucose control in diabetes, but not necessarily specifically weight loss. So I'm just sitting here waiting for my meat to finish so I can stick it on a plate and show you how to, side note, remember my thing is always, I don't like food wastage. So I'm always trying to work out what's in my fridge that I can use up. So I found half a block of cheese, half a block of cream cheese. So I thought, all right, I'm sure that's probably ready to, I did check, it's not moldy, but it's ready to be used. So I'm going to cut this into some cubes and just dob that on the top of my mince that I'll put into my little capsicum cups, and then put some cheese on and bang it in the oven. That's kind of it. This is not rocket science, this dish. So the treatment of Alzheimer's and the prevention of Alzheimer's. So we certainly think that, like a lot of our chronic diseases, they require multiple approaches. And, you've all been told that, use it or lose it. And so certainly there's a lot of people out there advocating things like doing, Sudokus and different puzzles and keeping your brain active. And I think that's probably a valid point because certainly our ability to learn and our interest in learning does seem to decline a bit as we get older. You think about all the stuff kids are learning, and then we get a bit older and then we just kind of stop and we just watch telly all day. So certainly keeping your brain active is a good thing. Oh, you get to see the whole of me, Melissa. Yeah, I know. Where is this one? As I said, because Facebook, if you turn Facebook long ways, you end up with those two black lines all over the place. So Facebook, you get the view of my kitchen, which is looking moderately clean at the moment, thanks to 17-year-old. And but if you're doing Instagram, you get to see the whole of me. There you go. Who cares? So anyway, back to Alzheimer's. It's a devastating disease for those people with the condition, but also the people caring for them, because basically it robs people caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's. Their grief is really hard to kind of marry together, because there's the person in their flesh and blood, but the actual thinking part of that person is often disappeared. And it can be really, really hard, really heartbreaking, really difficult. So obviously we're wanting to prevent Alzheimer's, and certainly we would be, doing our normal things that we're suggesting, which is, look after your blood pressure, look after your insulin levels, check your cardiovascular function. We've got a podcast coming up on cholesterol, not today, but next week. Next week is our cholesterol one. It's our 48th episode next week, so we're nearly up to the Hawaii 5-0. And so for some people that may be important, again, it's not as clear cut as it used to be. Well, as we thought it was, is probably what I should say. But also things like, not excessive alcohol, again, just over time, lots of little injuries to the brain. We also know things like recurrent concussions. That's what the whole AFL thing's all about, just looking after your brain. So I guess, I'm always banging on about how much I love the liver, only because it does so many things. But I'm pretty keen on the brain too. It's an incredible organ when we think about it, of the things that we can do. But as you know, because we love talking about mind management, of also about the tricks that the brain can play on you from time to time. So just got to be mindful of all of those things within our brain. And I think on World Alzheimer's Day, it is a good time to two things: reflect and be incredibly in awe of the wonderful things our brain can do for us, and to make a commitment to really care for it and look after it by, by making sure that you do know what your blood pressure is, that we're not feeding our insulin, that we're not, just, I guess, allowing it to veg away by not stimulating it. All of those wonderful things. So, anyway, enough rabbiting on. Here is, so basically I've made this one a bit runnier than the other one, just by putting in some extra passata. Last week somebody asked which brand of passata I use. Here's one I prepared earlier. Valverde. It's just tomatoes. That's it. It's maybe got some salt in it. The other thing someone asked last week was about my cheese. Now, here's an interesting thing, right? And as you know, we are always big at Real Life Medicine on not being perfect, because what happens is we're used to perfect, And if it's not perfect, it's either nothing. You're either doing it perfectly or you're not doing it at all. Hello, Carolyn, gorgeous girl. So we're not about being perfect. So if I was doing perfect, I would have gone and plucked my spinach out of the garden. I probably would have hand-picked my tomatoes and put them in a crush. I probably would have, certainly wouldn't have bought grated cheese. But when I have a look at what's in, grated cheese has an anti-caking agent, which is cellulose. Now people will tell you, oh, that's wood chips. It's not. It's some plant fibre. I mean, it probably is, you know, cellulose is what's made up in a plant. But it's actually, you know, the stringy bits like in broccoli? Not broccoli, what's it called? Celery? That's cellulose. Okay, it's just a plant fibre that we don't digest, so an insoluble plant fibre, and for some reason it seems to work as an anti-caking agent, which suits me. So there we go. So I think in the general scheme of things, if I'm trying to look at how can I cut corners and do real food, I'm happy with grated cheese. I feel very virtuous when I grate my own, don't get me wrong. But I'm also recognising that there are sometimes things that just make life easier. So look, I've just chopped up this bit of, what do you call this stuff? Cream cheese. And I'm just daubing it on I think 2 squares will do. So, I should have had this one I prepared earlier, I should have had my real life medicine apron on, which will be back to front for you guys, because the camera is always back to front. But I'm actually rubbish at wearing aprons. One of those things I just never do. But anyway, there you go, there's an apron. So here, I don't know if you can see it, I'll just hold it up. There you go. Basically, I've got the capsicums, I've got them stuffed with some mince. They're sort of, they're kind of just bolstering each other up. And then I'm just going to get some of, I was about to call it last week's cheese. It is last week's cheese. It's the same cheese from last week. I don't eat, it's funny, people go, do you eat a lot of dairy? And I think, oh, you know, part of me thought, yeah, I do, but I actually don't. I eat a lot of dairy as the topping, like maybe that much. So a packet of this sort of cheese could last us, well, so it's been here a week, so at least a week. So basically I'm just going to go and bang that in the oven and that'll be ready. These capsicums are quite thick, so I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, something like that. I'll have a look and see. And that's it. That's dinner. I'm not serving it with any side dishes. It is a dish. It's a complete dish. The less side dishes, the better. One pot, one tray, clean up a breeze. There's still enough left. I might whack this lot in the freezer. There's only so many times you can serve up mince in its various disguises. But lovelies, when you start thinking, oh God, it's so hard, you know, to cook from scratch all the time, big pot of mince, as I said, you've got spaghetti bowl, you've got a, you can do stuffed capsicums, you can do stuffed eggplant, you can do lasagna eggplant if you wanted to layer it, you can do, you can separate it out before you've had your flavourings and have a, you know, the Italian herby one and then a curry one. So you can really just make it super easy. You can also bang it in the freezer for the days that you just don't want to cook at all. We all have those. All right, darling hearts, I will see you all tomorrow morning in the live. And yeah, I think it does look pretty good, doesn't it? It certainly feels healthy to me. It's got all my colours. It's got some greens, got some reds, got some cheese, got some protein, got some fat. Not too much of anything. It's all wonderful. Have a fantastic day, darlings. Look after your brain. World Alzheimer's Day. See you soon. Bye now.